Highlander Map guide for CP Steel. In this guide I'll be going over more specific tactics than normal, as Steel has a lot of specific strategies that can be implemented. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Pushing A, everybody except for your soldier and your spy should be pushing into A and going for that quick cap. When you're first walking out, you want your heavy to come out top right, look for traps and spies, and then get into position to fight their combo here. Everybody else will be walking out this left hill and working their way up, looking for players who might be hiding, or just killing people who are contesting the point directly. After that, you'll just work with your heavy to spam them out where their combo's holding, which is most commonly this top right area, and then you'll be able to just lock them out and get the A cap. Usually teams will just give it up fairly easily, and so you won't have to work very hard for the A push. And if you see them giving up, you just want to rotate your demo and your heavy out immediately, and have them rotate quickly through spawn. While your team is pushing A, you want your spy and your soldier to just be working into B and going for an early gun kill. Pretty much every team is going to have their gun set up on B somewhere, and so having your spy cloak in and work with the soldier to spam it out while it's sapped and take it down can be very, very helpful. Getting that gun taken out will just make every Uber into B that you have following your A cap much easier, so you won't have a Wrangle level 3 to deal with. Your players are rotating off of A. You want to make sure that there's no sniper peeking the crack, there's no traps hiding here, and there isn't a soldier hiding on either of these lights. Usually having a Fist of Steel heavy walk through first is best for clearing that, and then having your soldier and your heavy work together to take over this top right area. While that's going on, you want your sniper and your demo to be peeking this angle and going for any kills that they can. Usually teams are going to be peeking you and trying to go to spam and lock out your ability to walk in, and so your sniper will have some pretty good angles on the people peeking this corner. While that's going on, if they're just giving you space, just feel free to walk out with your med and demo and your scout and just take ground for free. And again, if they're just continuing to be very, very passive, then just working out with more classes and just focusing all your spam to pushing them back can be very helpful. But usually it'll be sort of a struggle to get forward because they'll be spamming this exit very heavily, and that's why taking over the top right will be helpful, as you can rotate your sniper up there to go for a kill, or you can just keep working this angle. Once you've gotten a kill or two and you're ready to start pushing, if they're still having decent forward pressure, you can try Ubering through this top right and just dropping down and going straight into them. Before the Ubers happen, you'll want to make sure that your spy was able to get in position and prepare to sap the gun. Usually it'll be right on the corner of the point, underneath that lamp, or on this corner here. So just having your spy ready to sap so the gun will go down immediately during the Uber will be very helpful. Sometimes the NGs will be able to set up even if you took it down before the A push. In general though, you'll end up just pushing in and going for the gun kill and going to force their Uber. I found that just going for a force and then backing out with everybody and being prepared to repush is the best option for B. And then once the Ubers have sort of faded, then just flooding in from everywhere with essentially all 9 players and just sort of having everybody force them with spam to back up is the best way to push B. Some other special options that you can try, it's not always needed, but you can have your NG go level 3s, and during the Ubers just drop a level 3 here and then be set up to wrangle into them for the post fight. Another thing that's very, very helpful that you should almost always consider doing is just having your soldier bomb high and get straight into their combo right for the post Uber fight. Doing that will just distract them and you'll be able to do an insane amount of damage by just landing on their head with 3 rockets. That'll just open it up for the rest of your team to sort of walk up, hugging this left wall. That'll help you avoid a heavy who's could be peeking the window, and then just having everybody focus forward to spam back whatever they have by spawn, and then just try to lock out their spawns as best you can. Once you've sort of broken their hold, just make sure that you're watching for a soldier, scout, or a spy to come in from behind. Usually they'll come from drop down, but the spies can just decloak from anywhere. So just be extra cautious as a medic as you're coming out. So you've really taken over B, and you're definitely confident that they won't be able to repush. You have to make a quick decision on whether or not to just roll on to C, or to sort of set up for a more standard push. Best way to determine this is if you manage to kill a bunch of their core classes or just almost wipe them fully. Then you'll just want to run through this B to C corridor and just go straight for the C cap. If not, then you'll just want to slowly work your way into this room, this sort of BC corridor, which I call main, as it's the main entrance onto E. But you'll just take over main and be set up to push C. If you manage to get a bunch of kills and you're just going to be rolling on through, then usually what you want to do is just try to flood through as fast as you can and get control of the high ground on point, and especially your demo, to be immediately focused on locking out their spawns. If you can get the spawns locked out and get onto the high ground on C, usually they won't be able to contest at all. So making sure that if you get the kills on B, you move very quickly onto C and just lock them out and get cap time. That'll help you guys get a really fast cap on steel. Assuming a few things went wrong when pushing B and you sort of slowly grind out the cap, or you just managed to cap it without killing a whole bunch of players, then just moving your combo into main here and having your flank pressure the E capture, primarily your soldier and your scout. Usually at this point you want your soldier running pain train for this specifically, just pressuring the E cap. You'll be able to work cap time on E, and they can either rotate their combo to stop you, or they can just give up the point and you'll get a free A-B-E cap with almost no effort. Usually though, they'll have their sniper sort of peeking through this angle, and then they'll rotate their combo in to block you. At this point, you just want to have your combo just rush in as soon as you can tell that they're rotating off C to block E, and just try to flood in immediately, get onto the high ground and lock out their spawns, just as if you're pushing straight away from B. Big thing to think about here is making sure that you're fast enough so you don't get caught on the low ground, and that you're able to get forward and lock out their spawns. Oftentimes on this map, just making sure your spy is calming everything they're seeing will be very helpful, and just keeping comms clear and calm so you can realize that they're rotating and quickly rush on to the next point. If the enemy team has this B to C corridor, or main rather, then sort of the best ways to push C are to either work kills with your sniper, peeking this angle here, or to just wait a few seconds until the gate up here opens, and then you're able to send your flank in, or your combo even, to come and drop down behind them and sort of pinch their combo if they're holding in this main room. And while you're doing that, you want to make sure that either your flank or your combo, whichever you didn't send to flank around through the gate, is also pressuring from the front, and so you can just get a nice pinch on their combo here. After you've sort of taken over this area, you can just sort of go into your normal pressure E and then move to C push. After you've broken their C push, similar to B, you have to make a really quick decision on whether or not you're going to be pushing right past their spawn door by going through this corridor, rushing past and going to D, or whether or not you'll be falling back and rotating around through main. Oftentimes, when you're capping C, if they're down a lot of players, or if you flank manage to get a lot of cap time on E, then just rotating back with your combo once you have C pretty much locked down for sure, just rotating back and getting ready to just cross here and go block out their spawns can be best. Usually when you're doing this, you'll be going straight for the E cap, so your combo will be locking out their spawns here. Normally playing this top right area is best, but once you get that C cap, bridges will come out and you'll be able to cross easily as a combo class, and then you can just lock out the spawns as your flank caps E. Again, that can be very strong if you manage to get a bunch of kills, and or you just have a lot of cap time on E from when you're baiting the rotates. Or if you guys have Uber and they don't really have anyone spawning right away, then just rushing through this hallway here and just coming straight onto D can be the best option. Usually this option is a bit safer than going for that E cap, as you'll be able to get into position on D and capture that off instead of going straight for E. The biggest thing to keep in mind is just to get through this corridor as fast as possible and straight onto D, and so you're ready to fight them. Here you'll want to just come in, Uber onto them, and then try to either kill everybody who's on D, but oftentimes there'll be people sort of in control, which is what I call this whole area here. Oftentimes they'll have players over in this area, and so you'll have to start capping D and then fight them as they come into you from this side and by spawn. So just getting the cap and then being ready to Uber when you need to is very important. And just listening to comms of where the enemy team is as well. After the C cap, if those two fast pushing options, either running past their spawn corridor or rotating back towards E, fail, then usually you always want to just have your NG start building a telly on A. Oftentimes getting this to level 3 is really important, as you can just leverage the spawn times on steel. And then just pretty much sending all of your pushes through this control room. Oftentimes, if you can't immediately get the cap on D or E, then just taking over control by either just Ubering in and beating them that way, or just flooding in a bunch of people through this choke quickly and overwhelming whoever's in this room, are the two best options usually. When you're trying to push in through control, oftentimes having your sniper just hanging out in that perch can be the best, as they can really contest C, or E rather, quite well. But in general, once you've taken control, you want to have your demo and your med sort of focus on spamming this direction, as well as anyone else who's just sort of around can help protect your demo and med there. And then you want your heavy to come through this side tunnel and then be able to peek from another angle, as well as your demo. Peeking with both those people at the same time will oftentimes get you several kills, and at worst will force them to back up. And then just trying to work your way in, lock out their spawns, and getting the decap right away from that will be the best way to take D. If that fails the first time or second time, usually it's best to just keep trying and just sort of slightly editing your push, as sort of pinching your way in can be quite strong. Another option to consider is to have your soldier come through C, flank through the corridor similar to a push, but then come in and drop down on their combo from behind as you guys are pushing through control, and then that little pinch there will almost always get you guys the cap. Once you've captured D, or you've just completely blown them out, you're just going for an E cap, then just moving into this area. This is probably the best spot for a heavy, as they can lock down the only pathway for spawners to come once you have D. They can either come through this side, rotate through C and come out main, or go through C and come through this lower area. And having a heavy here will allow you to sort of drop down instantly onto their face if they come underneath, and then also to fight people who come from D. Additionally, you want to just try to lock out their spawns again, just like with almost every capture on this map, and then have your flank be primarily focused on getting the cap itself. Again, this point is really important to be listening to comms, making sure that if you hear that their combo is rotating through C, that your demo and med go to meet them immediately. Because if they can take over main and just sort of easily peek and spam point, they'll be protected by this opening from anyone who's coming by their spawn, and so they'll be able to fight point quite easily. So just being aware of where the other team's pushing from and rotating to meet them is very key to pushing E, and just making sure they don't get down here to spam. The demo there is very strong. But overall, just meeting their combo on E, locking them out, and making sure you always have like at least X times 1 on point, because if you just have everybody off it fighting, then the cap will just decay and you'll just go backwards. but overall, just make sure that you're getting cap and locking them out. Some general tips to think about on offense is, especially after you cap B, just for every point that you need to take, just working cap time on E to sort of force them to rotate and weakening the defense on the points you want to take, whether that's for D, whether it's for C, or even sending flankers through A to start pressuring the point and working their defense down on B. That's one of the biggest things to think about. Additionally, just always trying to control main here, as you can get to the most important parts of the map very easily from here. Just trying to always have a presence here is very key. You can get to C, B, E, and then flank around anywhere you need to go. Then you can also get to lower quite effectively. Also, just making sure that you're listening to comms. Everybody's calm and focused on what needs to be done, and you guys all sort of understand the plan of attack and what you're going to be doing to take each point. Because making sure that everybody's on the same page on this map can just allow you to just crush teams who might have better DM or might normally have better coordination. So just making sure that you're calm, listening, and you know what's going on will really set you up for success. When defending A, you'll have a sort of a similar setup as you did for pushing it, where you'll have some people on B and some people going for A at the start. But in general, for defending A itself, oftentimes you'll only want maybe your soldier, your sniper, and your demo and med here. Oftentimes having the pyro as well to sort of spy check and air blast spam can be useful. But just having a sniper maybe down by the rocks, go for one pick and then fall back immediately, and then just having your demo spamming over this cliff. But in general, the main goals of A is just to slow them down by a few seconds maybe, and then to make sure you don't lose players and especially your Uber doesn't get forced. Same time as that sort of initial weak A hold, you'll oftentimes want your main force to be on B to make sure that they can't get in, and just to make sure that you'll have a solid B hold to rotate into after you give up A. From my experience, the most effective gun spot is right here, as it's harder for the spy to sap than this spot here, but it still provides coverage to the chokes. Having the gun back here can be an alright option if you're able to lock them out effectively, but in this spot it's so passive that it often doesn't really contribute to the defense, and it'll just end up going down too easily. Similarly to this spot, it can be very good for locking down these chokes, but oftentimes a spy can just decloak and sap it very easily. So that's why, for the most part, just building on the edge of the point here has become the most common in Platinum. However, it's definitely worth trying out the different spots and seeing which works for your team the best. Oftentimes though, having the heavy in this top left spot, maybe the soldier, just sort of roaming around spamming so the spy can't just sneak through totally unscathed, can be the best for this sort of initial B setup. So you guys end up rotating off of A and you're just fully set up for the B hold. Usually you want your soldier watching this top left spot and just making sure that they can't get in here, and then it's fine to just drop off for this pack here or to get arrowed, and your med needs to be aware that this soldier is going to need health a lot, or just to jump back and get a buff. But just denying this little pathway is very, very important to stopping them from pushing B, and just making sure that on every single point on this map, not bleeding players unless you absolutely need to die. But for your combos positioning, in general you want your demo to just be spamming forward. Your sniper can also be working and peeking this angle or peeking from up top here if they're not aggressively fighting you guys. And then a spot that can work as heavy is right here, because you won't be able to get sniped. You can spy check pretty much everything as well. And then you're also in a position to stop people who are rushing your demo. And then you can peek out easily here and fight them if they're pushing in. I sort of like that spot. I find it better than just sort of sitting back here, because your only other options really are here, which is in a sniper sightline, or being here, which is pretty passive, and so you won't really be helping the defense. In general, you'll find teams that send a class or two behind, and so being ready, oftentimes having the pyro here to be able to just fight them Just air blast them into the pit, or just air blast them back and rotate away for heals can be the best. If they're sending a lot of people behind, and they're not really pushing forward, then it's fine to rotate your demo to kill them quickly. Or another option is to just have your heavy come support your pyro in main if they're pressuring too hard. But in general, you just want to make sure as a pyro you're calming what's coming into you, and so your team knows how to react. And if you need help, then just make sure you're asking for it. With your sniper, you want to just have them set up and peeking this corner, hard scoping it so they can't walk in without using, and just making sure he's being buffed and supported by the rest of your team. And just keeping that locked down will make them hopefully use early if they're trying to come in, or at least sort of give up kills as they're pushing. If they do use, then it's fine to just back up and then be ready to repush. And if you're repushing, you want to make sure that you don't overextend and that in a post super you 100% are keeping your combo alive. But if you can kill their man, that's very important. Other than the medic, there's not really that much benefit from getting kills, as they're just going to be spawning so quickly. So just making sure that you prioritize either killing the man or just keeping everybody alive and in position. That's pretty much the main purpose of the Uber, so maybe kill the man if possible. Otherwise, just holding it and just staying safe and stabilizing hold again would be the best option. Additionally, if you're starting to get pushed back, it can be very strong to just have your soldier bomb high and get into them as a way to just sort of distract and then let the rest of your team push back and retake this sort of corner. Because once you really get pushed back here, it's going to be very hard to hold the point. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you're all the way pushed out and you're losing players, then on steel especially, it's always better to just give up the point and make sure you have a solid hold on the next one, as just going in at bad times and dying will only hurt you guys in the long run. The thing to keep in mind when you're holding B is if the other team is trying to do a sort of an A to E direct capture, is to definitely, when you rotate, play in main. All you need to do is focus on the people who are capping, as it takes so long to cap. If you clear the point will just decay while they try to get into position again. Just make sure you're not over peeking and you're just focusing your spam onto the point. Another thing to keep in mind is to be very, very careful if you're peeking this shutter here. Oftentimes it's best to just completely ignore that spawn shutter and just try to rotate around and fight them from different angles. If you're spamming from here, just make sure you have your demo primarily is the biggest thing, and then your med, your pyro, and heavy oftentimes you'll want as well. And then you'll just be able to kill things that are on point. Pyro can air blast them if they try to peek this corner. Just all out, make sure you don't over peek and die to snipers who could be hard scoping through here, and just make sure you're not overcommitting, you're not losing players, and you're just keeping focused on the point so they can't actually get the cap. Other than that, as long as you can keep people alive, you'll be able to shut down any AE attempts. After you've lost B, an important thing to keep in mind is that if you rotate into the spawn, you can backspawn to C without losing your Uber, and it'll happen instantly once they capture B. So if you're cut off on that side, don't risk crossing to get into main, just take the safe and simple backspawn. In general, if you can, you want to be set up in main to block them after they've capped B. The biggest things to worry about are the sniper peeking this angle, and then after a few seconds the players coming through the gate. So usually you only want to stay in main until the gate is opened up so that you have to worry about them flanking. Then you just want to back out to the point, be ready to fight from C. Usually what's worked best is to have the combo playing this top right spot, as you can still spam down onto where they'll be coming from, and you'll still be able to avoid the snipers unless they peek all the way out to that side. You'll be able to fight them on the low ground and shoot people who are coming up to point as well, and you're just safe from everything essentially. A strong thing to do is to have your NG build a dispenser right here, so it'll block any flankers coming in to try to get onto your med, who'll be playing right there. And that'll give you warning and it'll slow down people who are coming to flank. Oftentimes, having your soldier play up by these rocks can be very, very good, as he can deny the sniper from coming in. It's a very narrow choke point. There's ammo and health, so it can be pretty straightforward for the soldier to just lock down and crush anyone who's coming through. Additionally, if they try to push out through main, he'll be in a perfect spot to spam down on them. And if they're trying to capture E, he'll be in a good spot as well to just simply flank around and come into them from behind. And doing that and coordinating that sort of push with your combo coming into main can be very strong to pinch their combo and kill a ton of players. And oftentimes they won't really be expecting people to just be flying into B, and they'll only really be looking for people to come in from the front. So that's definitely something to try as soldier. Additionally, you can just try playing by E to just slow down their cappers if they're trying to force you to rotate off C. In general though, if they are getting good E time, you want to make sure that you move your combo into main and you start pushing them out. If you have to Uber to force them out, that's fine. Just Uber, push them back, try to kill the people who are in main and clear that area, and then focus on clearing the point. A big thing on defending essentially every point is if they're getting cap time on E, making sure you know where their combo is so your combo can meet them, as well as not panicking and freaking out if they're getting good cap time on E, but just making sure you're calm and you know what your team's doing to react to the problem. You just sort of all work together, rotate, and clear the point. In general, you just want to come into main, clear them out, clear point, and then either stabilize in main for a bit, or just reset back to C hold. Oftentimes, if you're pretty dynamic in your ability to move back and forth, it can allow you to hold quite well. Having your soldier up here will be able to just totally shut down anybody who's pushing. Another thing to keep in mind is to try different players watching E, as for some people having their sniper just looking across, locking them down from capturing the point can work well, but against certain teams they'll be able to flank in and kill your sniper. Just being focused on rotating to where their combo is meeting them and not giving up C or E for free. Once you lose C, defending E and D are pretty much the same. The best spot to hold it from is in control, as you can shut down people coming from A, which will be where most spawners will be trying to come from. You can also peek into main, you can fight point from that direction, and you'll be able to fight point from your spawn itself. In general, the biggest things to worry about are the sniper peeking you from there and getting a body shot, people flooding in through A and catching you off guard, or people coming around through C and flanking you. While it might seem like a lot can go wrong, in general, holding here is the safest and strongest hold that you can have pretty much on any map, and so just being aware of the comms, knowing where they are, and knowing what's coming will allow you to just totally dominate. If they do try to come through this corridor by spawn, a good thing to do is just have your heavy set up by these boxes, and it can crush people as they come in. And just, if you need to, you can kite forward away from the Uber and then come back in and collapse on them. If they are coming in and you are down too many players, you can try to escape out up top with your Uber. But in general, just trying to pinch them between your spawners and your combo and control can be quite strong. Otherwise, just being focused on control and keeping them locked out of A and not letting them get cap time on E is the most important. Oftentimes when you're in this spot, the sniper will be hanging out up here, so having your soldier spam them like that, or just having your soldier, spy, or scout flank around through A and come up behind and kill him is very, very important. Also, just coming into A, killing a telly if they have one is very important for being able to hold. Oftentimes, spies will be what break this, and so being aware of the spies is also quite important for this hold. And if they're locking you out on this choke point, then just be quick and rotate around and be ready to fight them from this side. If you're able to sort of move back and forth, it can be very, very strong holding here. Additionally, if you are trying to respawn and come back to fight them, then moving into main and taking this area over can be quite strong as well, especially if this is where their combo's holding. As coming through C and then just crushing out their hold and making it so they have no real area of safety set up for their pushes in the future, that can be really, really important. As well as the fact that if they're trying to cap and you just have main, it's very, very easy to contest, and it's quite hard for them to actually push you out of there. So just making sure you're rotating around the map, staying focused on where the enemy team is and what you need to do to stop them. It'll set you up for having a very strong hold on every point, and especially for D and E. And just keep in mind that E takes a long time to cap, so don't panic and rush in and die alone if they're starting to get cap time. Just make sure you work with your team, you know what the plan is on defending, and you just execute it. Just staying calm in this map and listening to comms is the best way to be successful, and you can definitely win games. Hopefully this guide has helped you guys. If you guys have any comments or questions, I'd love feedback in the comments so I can make better videos. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a like so I know what I'm doing well, and then if you disliked it, please dislike it so I know that I should work on improving. But thanks for watching. Hopefully this video helps you guys, and good luck on Monday.